That's part of it, yes, but again,
Okay.
like you have to take into consider like the height of the center of gravity is different between the two, the shape of the sacrum is different between the two, the inlet shape of the pelvis is different between the two. There's a lot of factors that play into the why.
And second one, I want to know the reason why the wide have the oblique turn and the narrow have the flat turn. And I have an idea about this. I bring a pelvis here. Maybe I need to turn, sorry, I need to turn off the filter. Yeah, here. Wait for a while.
Look at you with the lavalier mic. There you go.
Sorry, they have some problem with the pubic symphysis here.
No, so, hey, I broke mine on purpose.
Okay.
It's very useful. Trust me.
Okay.
It's very useful.
Okay. So that is good.
You're not. Yeah.
Okay. So for the narrow, does that because of the internal force was vortex to the left, and we need to just stop them. Yeah. But we already have the closed or compression on the posterior lower, so we need to just compress here. That makes a flat turn. Then right on the narrow.
So the axis of rotation is more vertical. Mm-hmm. So the helical axis. Mm-hmm. Helical axis is more vertical. Yeah.
So more like these. So they have the flat
turn
here.
It's closer to straight up and down, right? Yeah.
Okay. But for the narrow, because the for the wide, because they have the expansion on the posterior lower here. So if we still have the internal force turn to the left, we need to close here first. Yeah. So we get the oblique turn. Is that right?
That's part of it, yes. But again, like you have to take into consider like the height of the center of gravity is different between the two, the shape of the sacrum is different between the two, the inlet shape of the pelvis is different between the two. There's a lot of factors that play into the why, but you have the general idea. Like you get it.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Everybody fights the same gravitational battle, right? So they end up in the same place, but because of the physical structure, they have to get there in different ways.
Yeah.
Okay, so everybody's going to eventually end up in the same place, but they get there in different ways.
All right. So
that's kind of what we're describing.
Yeah. I get it. Okay. But to make more a clear distinction in my head between the wide and the narrow, regarding the sequence of the strategy we need to take to bring them back. I've heard you talk about the wides to bring them back on the right first.
Yes.
I guess my question is like, when they're on the end game of that strategy, of them falling outside of the base of support, what's the difference between the two archetypes in regards of the sequence of how we handle it?
Okay. How did they get
why?
Okay. Can you stand up?
All right. Yeah, just give me 10 seconds.
Up, like, this is not rocket science.
All right. I couldn't stand up here.
Okay.
I'm good now. Okay.
All right. So,
I'm very wide. I don't know if that helps you. But
you're doing fine.
All
right. So I'm gonna make you a narrow ISA right now. Okay.
That would be great. I'd love to do it. I'm trying very hard.
Okay. So I want you to make your weight even on both feet.
All right.
Even on your toes and your heels.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I want you to shift your weight. Don't pick up your heels. Don't move your feet. I want you to shift your weight to your left toes.
To mine? The left toe, I didn't hear you.
The left toe should be heavier than all the other points of contact now. Okay.
Big toe.
Sure.
All right.
Got it?
Yeah, got it.
Yes. We're there? Okay. Now,
Yeah.
from your big toe on the left, I want you to shift your weight straight across to the big toe on the right.
All right.
Okay, that's an arrow.
Yeah.
Okay, you got it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Go back to the beginning.
All right.
Hang on. Go back to the beginning. Make your feet even. Make your feet even.
I'm there. I'm there.
Okay. I want you to make your right heel on the inside edge of your right heel. Make that the heaviest spot.
All right.
Okay. I want you to make your left heel on the inside edge lighter. Okay.
All right.
So now you got a heavy right heel, correct?
Heavy right heel. Yeah.
Okay. Now take your weight from your right heel, shift it to the right big toe. So I got you to your right big toe in two different ways. You understand?
I can't hear you.
Do you understand what we just did?
My internet is probably having some trouble. I'm on my big
Right big toe.
right toe and
Right big toe.
outside the heel. I didn't hear you. Sorry. If you can repeat that last part.
You should be on your right big toe. Correct?
Right big toe. Yeah. Get it.
Okay. So in both cases, we got you to your right big toe. Okay. But we got there in different ways.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about. That's the difference between the narrow and the wide ISA archetype.
All right.
They shift their weight inside of their base of support differently because their structure is different.
The wide is biased towards the middle.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So the narrow is more biased towards the late when that happens, when the center of gravity moves forward on both sides. They're going towards more late. Yeah.
It's their structural bias that determines where the center of gravity goes and then how it moves. And then everybody fights the same gravitational battle, right? So they end up in the same place. But because of the physical structure, they have to get there in different ways.
Yeah, right. Okay, so
when you, let me
that's
stop.
a lot of clarity. Yeah.
So when you're trying to reverse engineer the position, it behooves you to understand what their structural tendency would be, because then you can work backwards. Good morning. Happy Thursday. I have Neuro Coffee in hand and it is perfect. Jake, where are you?
Morning. So I got a question regarding differences in right and left hip shift and squats for wides and narrows.
Okay.
So, and obviously I'm going to come with my understanding first, and you can tell me where I'm missing things.
Okay. What if you're right?
That's a possibility also, but we'll find out. So the wide squats down to the right is, that's a fairly easy representation to see. You have the right oblique. You have a more eccentric right outlet. You squat into that space. And so you see a wide, he squats down to the left. What I've seen is that tends to be in the wides that I've seen more towards an end game wide, which my understanding would be that the anterior orientation on the right side has gotten much stronger than in the other representation, where they're still on the oblique. So that sort of, for lack of a better word, eliminates all the ER space to squat into, relatively more on the left now. That's the direction they squat into. Now you can tell me where I'm wrong.
Okay. What I think your understanding of where they are in process is correct.
Yeah.
Right. So if I just had like the really simple ones, you know, the wide ISAs that have only made like first move.
Yeah.
So they're just on the oblique. So you're absolutely right. So you've got an eccentrically oriented posterior outlet. They're just following the expansion.
Right.
Real simple. Okay. Now you move them forward, right, on the right side.
Mhm.
And so the space that they were squatting into is gone.
Right.
All right. So that doesn't exist anymore. And then you have to consider the fact that as they move forward and they start to reach the end of the base of support, they got to stay down inside their base of support. And so this is where you start to see the compressive strategy show up on the left side. Okay.
Mhm.
And it's the downward force that creates an IR compensatory strategy. And you'll see it show up. You'll see it show up. You'll see it in the rib cage. You'll see it in the pelvis. You'll see it in the foot. Okay.
Mhm.
And so what you're seeing when you have what appears to be a deviation to the left. Okay.
Right.
That's what you're going to see. And so if that was your explanation, then you are on point.
That was kind of what I was saying, but also not
Yeah,
really.
I think it was too. I think it was too. Yeah. And again, it's like this whole right and left thingy is relative to a perceived straight ahead.
Well,
Right.
it's changed. The direction of forward changes. I'm just trying to figure
Thank
out.
you very much. I've heard somebody say that before, that forward does change direction.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out.
No, but see, that's the point. That's the point of all that too, is the fact that it's like, okay, what you perceive, just because you're looking in a direction doesn't make that forward, right? Forward is where all of this stuff ends up orienting, and then you're going to have some confusion in that regard too, and therefore your imaginary sagittal plane and all those other things just sort of disappear, and they go, yeah, that's a little too confusing for me, because you don't have a point of reference anymore, right? So right, left, I get it, but I think you understand.
Okay. And then just going over a narrow.
Uh-huh.
I have a fake spine here.
Sweet. Well,
right.
you know, that could be somebody's spine.
Well, yeah, I guess it could be.
I've seen them like that.
So you got the flat turn, is going to orient the bottom up into the lumbar spine at some point. So you're going to get
top down. Narrow.
Oh, sorry, top down.
Narrows top down.
Top down.
Yep.
So you turn the bottom part relative to the top, or sorry, eventually you get to lumbar spine, you get here with I'm holding the top here.
I see that.
So you go here, and then you create a compensatory ER on that left side because you've lost the left side ER. So as you squat down,
yep,
kind of that. If you can kind of see what I'm doing, in the direction of forward shifts to the left, and that's why they squat to the right. I don't know if I'm demonstrating this the way I want to be, but
so hang on. Let's just talk through it in sequence. Okay. Narrow ISA. Okay. The first deviation that you're going to see in their squat behavior is their pelvis will appear to move to the left. Okay.
Okay.
Reason being, when you think about their first move, which is down and forward on the left, okay, what direction would the sacrum be facing?
Right.
Okay, so that now becomes forward.
Yep.
There's the change in forward, right? So they're squatting straight down based on where their sacrum is. But if we stand straight behind them and we say, well, this is where your feet were oriented and this is where your eyeballs are going, but your sacrum's facing this way, you're going to squat in the direction that the sacrum that opposes the direction that the sacrum is facing, right? So there's your left.
Yeah, I see the left. The right's the one that's a little more.
Hang on, boss. We're going to get there.
Sorry, I got ahead of myself.
It's all right. Now, take them further into their dilemma of managing gravity, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now they're going left to right. Okay. Mm-hmm. Same problem that the wide guy just had, but they started from a different place. So their strategy is going to be a little bit different. So when they get to the edge of their base of support, they're still up, right? Center of gravity is still high as they go from left to right. So the center of gravity goes down and to the left, and then as it goes to the right, now it starts to come down. They hit the end of their base of support. They got to stay inside. So now they're going to pull down the right side. Now they have a similar dilemma that you saw with the wide ISA on the left side, but theirs is going to show up on the right because, again, they just started from a different place. So they still have to pull themselves down into their base of support on the right side. This is where you're going to start to see the deviation that appears to be going to the right.
Because of the compensatory IR, they need to get back inside the base.
1000%. That, like, yeah, because like if think about this, if they try to use an ER strategy on that right side, okay, number one, what you're going to see is one heck of a bowed leg, right? Yeah, okay, and then you're going to see what people will describe it in the real world outside of this call. Okay, they're going to say, "Oh, they're right side bending," but we all know that there's no right side bend, right? Okay, so that's their IR compensatory strategy on that side, but it's going to create the deviation of what appears to be a right shift. Okay,
I got you. Okay.
Okay, you see how it like either archetype can appear to deviate in either direction, but for different reasons.
So those side bends we see that are twists, that's what's changing the direction of forward to shift.
1000%.
I got you.
1000%. Yeah. Right. So in the cervical spine, it's going to go C7, C6, C5, C4, C3, C2. So just one segment at a time, move them forward. Good morning. I have Neuro Coffee in hand, and it is perfect.
Hi there. So yeah, I have a question that's a bit different. I've listened to a lot of the podcasts. I don't get to join the calls all the time, but one of the things I haven't heard too much about is flattening of the cervical spine.
What's that?
So I guess essentially the situation of like exactly like just a cervical spine that's really never, there's no degree of flexion or extension. It's essentially just, you're just vertical all the time and you're putting a lot of pressure through the SCM and these other neck muscles. And I was just wondering when that would come along within the compensatory strategies of a wide. You know, at what point does that start to show up?
Okay, so as soon as the anti-orientation begins, okay, you will sequentially lose relative motions, right? So in the cervical spine, it's going to go C7, C6, C5, C4, C3, C2. So just one segment at a time, move them forward, right?
Okay.
You look at the x-rays, you've seen x-rays?
Yep.
Okay, so the traditional sagittal view x-ray of a flattened cervical spine, right? It's not this way, it goes that way on the pictures, right?
Yep.
So again, this is the segmental motion that goes forward. Okay, you'll see the same thing in the lumbar spine. So as soon as the center of gravity starts to move forward, as soon as the anti-orientation starts, that's happening. So if you see it go all the way up in the cervical spine to C3, you got a full anti-orientation. Okay, but it's going to go from the bottom. You'll see it arise from the bottom up.
Great. And
Okay.
then to work backwards on that, you
Yep.
wouldn't really address the cervical spine directly necessarily. You would just work on the.
Okay. So when you think about reverse engineering it, and then you think about musculature that would become concentrically oriented under that circumstance. So what would pick up concentric orientation? Classically, you can see these people a mile away. Do you know what muscles you might have to help? So think about,
glutes?
Say again?
The glutes?
No. Neck,
Pushing,
cervical spine.
Oh,
Cervical spine. What picks up concentric orientation? If I move each segment of the cervical spine anteriorly, right, to create the orientation, there's something on the front side of the cervical spine that's going to pick up concentric orientation.
In the neck.
And the neck. You ever have somebody with thoracic outlet?
Also, it's a bit different. I haven't had any client with it. Now it's actually, I'm working on this from an exploratory perspective. It's in myself.
Okay. So you and Zach need to hang out together because you're both incredibly selfish today on this call. No. Okay. So the scalenes are going to pick up a lot of concentric orientation under that circumstance. Okay. And so there may be a need to apply some form of manual technique to reduce that concentric orientation. Okay. Now, it doesn't mean you have to, but point being is you've got an anti-orientation, and in some cases, you've got folks that cannot make they cannot reduce the concentric orientation themselves, so they need a little bit of help. So if we're talking about you, okay, you've got an anti-orientation of the thorax that's going to start to, again, everything's going forward. Segmentally, your cervical spine is going forward, and then that's why you see the reduction. Like, and they'll just say that, oh, your cervicals, I'm gonna throw up in my mouth for a second. They're gonna say that your lordosis is flattened, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then, so there's a cool device that I think they got from like some sort of torture device where they will put a curve underneath your neck, and then they pin your head back with this strap, and they try to force your cervical spine back into a lordosis.
Mm-hmm.
You might want to stay away from that.
Makes a lot of sense.
Because what happens here, Kevin, is that the spine starts to behave as a single segment. So as it anteriorly orients, it's also compressed. So again, scalenes are gonna, if you look at the angle of pull, if you will, it's like it's pulling the spine forward and compressing it down, and so the cervical spine starts to move as a single segment, which is why the reduction in the orientation becomes so important. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So you need to start thinking about like activities that start to create that space between your scaps. Okay. We talk about like early propulsion and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
You're at a desk.
Right now I am, yes.
Okay, awesome. Put your elbows on the desk wider than your shoulders, and then your hands together, kind of like this.
Okay.
Together on the table, boss. On the table.
Sorry, one sec. I need to put the phone down. There we go.
Okay. All right.
Mm-hmm.
That's early.
Okay.
Okay. So stuff like that's going to be in your little repertoire of activities.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't try to force it. Kinder and gentler always wins under this circumstance. Because if you try to force it, what's going to happen is you're going to create a stronger anterior orientation by trying to push too hard. Okay. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
And with the elbows on the table, is there traction, or is there just really resting position?
So what you're trying to do is you're trying to stop the thorax from going forward. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you're trying to slow the thorax from going down and forward. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
So heavy on the elbow, pisiform on the table. Okay. More weight towards your elbow. And there you go. You see it? It's like, it just feels kind of natural to kind of slow down the, okay. Here's the cool thing. Can you appreciate the fact that you have traditionally pronated your forearm?
Yes.
Okay. Can you appreciate the fact that the elbow is bent?
Yes.
So if you pronate your forearm, do you know what your humerus does?
It goes in the opposite direction.
Goes in the opposite
Slightly,
direction.
yeah.
Awesome. So everything that's attached to your humerus just changed its orientation from concentric to eccentric orientation to a small degree, which means that you have a reduction in the anterior orientation of the thorax. Congratulations.
Okay.
You see it?
Yes, I see it. Thank you.
Yeah. It's kind of like doing a heels elevated squat for the upper body. Get it?
Yes. Yeah, I've spent a lot of time actually very close to this, and I just wanted to get exactly to the idea of where to focus first in terms of the reverse engineering. So
Okay, so don't think about it in isolation, right? Okay, you got to get the rest of this stuff too. So you're going to have a pelvic orientation to manage. You're going to have a foot position to manage, the whole shebang. Okay. Ready?
perfect.
Yes. Okay. Excellent.